these are the kinds of experiences that I've now started to have. Let's talk about who I was in law school, right? And so, like, this is tremendously, I don't want to say humiliating. It's certainly embarrassing. I even up until a couple of years ago was tremendously reactive. I've dealt with a lot of adversity in my life that I think a lot of other people don't necessarily think of. But I'm short. My last name is Inch. There's a lot of things that I've had to struggle with, and it's interesting. Even now, I walk into rooms, and as soon as people see me stand up front and say my name is Inch, everyone has a chuckle because I'm short. It's like every room I've walked into, I get laughed at.
You should sing your name then, and they would see what a great singer you are.
Well, there's lots of things I do well. The problem is that no one cares about those things at first. The first thing you get noticed about is all this, and then everyone thinks that they've got the first joke, right? So, and that's not, and I don't want to make that justification. My theory is that we are a human, we are a mortal social being.
Right.
Which means that a mortal social being must learn two things: how to fear physical harm or death, and how to fear being carved away from a social order by abandonment or exile. And so really everything comes back to what are those two fears? How do they show up? And then once you start seeing things from that paradigm, then now you can see how that's the connection then to the neurological system, because all of that blames what we stopped hitting the kids. I don't know. Do you remember when did it become? You're older than I am.
Sure.
When did they say stop hitting the kids?
Wow, that was sometime I think in the 70s.
So when they said stop hitting the kids,
both my children were born in the early 70s or mid 70s.
What was the answer when say okay, you can't hit them? Now what do you do to them?
Oh, it was timeouts. It was exile from the community.
Exile from go over there and get in that corner for however long. And that's what I'm saying is we're surprised that, and I'm seeing it everywhere. I'm seeing men talk when they sit in this room in those chairs over there, and you give them a safety word and say, hey, when this starts to get a little uncomfortable, or if you feel like I'm prying a little too deep, then
mango.
Mango. It's like a parachute ripcord. And I said, and if I seem to get defensive and say, oh my goodness, why did that hurt you? I said, if I do that, then just mango again, because I'm not intending to hurt you anymore. But giving people the off switch, because when has someone done that for us? Well, as soon as we tell someone,
not
hey,
in my life.
I'm not really comfortable talking about this. What do they say next? Well, then apparently we need to talk about it right now. Yeah. It's like, well, I'm already not safe.
Right.
Okay, so you care about you talking, but you don't care about the consequence.
Right. But that's cultural, Charlie. There are, we've been talking about the whole conversation has been. There's been a lot of talk about safe spaces for women in our culture. Okay, when's the last time you heard somebody talk about a safe space for a man?
None. And men are, and the thing, men are also causing their own problems as well, because we pride ourselves on being the provider,
right? And
then are upset that people only hold us to be a provider once we're out of their life.
Because
because we have an inability to touch our vulnerable emotions.
Exactly.
Because I think it's the blame. If you show the vulnerability, then that becomes a reason to be exiled.
Yeah.
And so my theory is that in order to not show it, you can't feel it. So therefore, instead of feeling vulnerable emotions like loss and grief and the experience of tremendous, not guilt, but it's like connection to someone that commits suicide, for someone that came to you for help recently.
Or burden of other situations that just compounded.
Right. Everyone that abandoned us later on, even if it's a year or anything else later, points back to that thing. I've got two friends that abandoned me at the end of last year, and I was kind of at a really deep. My friend Sharon was sick; she ended up dying at the beginning of, and so I was just in a tremendously difficult place, and I ran into them recently, and you don't that they kind of like Charlie, you just kind of see, and it's just like, man, like we called ourselves the Three Musketeers. Yeah. When things were good. But
it's hard to know how to repair that, isn't it?
Right. Well, once I realized that that's the reason that they didn't want to talk to me, I kind of lost my desire. Like if you can't deal with me if you want me on my best, but like when I'm having trouble getting out of bed because I don't know how I'm going to make it through the next, it doesn't sound like you're the kind of person I want to call. Like what kind of musketeer is that? Yeah. And I think we're losing that, we justify it all the time.